Hey guys, Nick here, and today we will be getting into the entrance of Jesus and the Hilltop community. Now, with the group already encountering the saviors at Alexandria, Little Timmy and his brigade, and with Shane being a part of the saviors, will this mean that Hilltop's efforts to help will have been for naught? Or will this provide an even bigger advantage? This is part 13 to the awesome remake of What If Rick Spared Shane. We get into the entrance of the Hilltop community, and everything else before that, like the Hilltop people being saved, and all the other stuff leading up to Hilltop, remains exactly the same. Nothing would change. But there is something that would change, albeit minor. The group that goes there. Now, in the original, we see Jesus, Maggie, Daryl, Glenn, Michonne, and Rick, and Abraham all going up to the Hilltop community. But who would go this time? Well, I feel that the group would remain the same, except I feel that Lori would replace Daryl in this equation. Now, why Lori? Well, because Michonne only went with Rick, really, because they had been together a long time. So, Rick and Lori going here, since Lori's still around, makes sense. Michonne would probably either maybe come along, or still stay at Alexandria. I mean, she was together with Shane, so she'd probably just want to go in case she could find him. I'm not saying that Michonne wouldn't go just because Lori's coming along. I'm just saying that with Daryl not going, which I'll explain more in a minute, Lori would go. Now, people have been asking me to review other characters from the series because I haven't really touched base on the majority of them. But outside of a vast majority of them just existing in Alexandria, there's not too much that I can point out. But here's something that I will point out. Carol and Axel, since they're still together, actually get married by the time they reach Alexandria. And since Mika is still alive in this timeline, which I've done before, and Carol is sort of like an adoptive mother, Axel is sort of like the adoptive father at this point in the story. And at this time, I feel that Mika would be in her teenage years, because she was a young kid whenever we first got introduced to her at the prison. So I feel like this time, she would be around her teen years. But that's all I can really say about characters at this point, outside of, like, including ones in the main story. Now, as I said, Daryl is not going to Hilltop. Now, why is this? Because of his recent death with Merle, I don't think he would want to go. So, whenever Ethan makes his whole attack in killing Gregory, or attempting to anyway, Lori is the one to save Abraham from the one guy instead of Daryl. But instead of merely breaking his arm like Daryl did, she just outright shoots him, which kills him. And this was complete and total accident. But this still gives time for Rick to kill Ethan. And the whole threat is solved, except now they have two people's blood on their hands, not one. But ultimately, Lori is feeling very apologetic about this because Lori, even in my other stories, hasn't really had a hand in truly killing someone. So this would be a drastic change for her character. And she is very apologetic about this. She really didn't mean it. She just wanted to get the guy off him, and she don't feel like she could have overpowered him had she went in their hands first. But Abraham tells her not to feel guilty of this, and it's what they had to do. And feels very happy that she saved his life. And that, yeah, she probably wouldn't have been able to get him off had she went in hands first, and he means this with no offense, of course. Lori takes this because, hey, she said it. Anyways, Rick also tries to console Lori, and that these people definitely had it coming for trying to kill the leader of the Hilltop here, albeit, being Gregory. Anyway, With all that said and out of the way, the entrance to the Saviors is not surprising this time, because they already know about the Saviors. So that whole little plot thing is out of the way. But Jesus says that they have a lot more Saviors from what they might think. They have satellite outposts and everything else. And if these Saviors were just the welcoming committee, there's plenty more where that came from. But he does know a satellite outpost where they can make their attack and possibly find and kill Negan. So the whole thing, the whole entrance to the fake Gregory head and the whole entrance to the satellite outpost, the first one, plays out as you would expect. But there's going to be a lot more differences this time around. For example, with the whole Eugene, Rosita, and Abraham thing, Eugene and Abraham still have their scuffle because, Abraham still almost killed Eugene and everything. Eugene's saying that he doesn't require his services anymore. Abraham breaks up with Rosita, except this time, since the Saviors had encountered Shane in the woods, that means that Dwight and all the other Saviors are at Alexandria, because Daryl also never met Dwight. So that means that when Abraham and Eugene have their thing, they just go back to Alexandria just on separate ways. Which also means Denise lives. But since Tara is not really part of the community, she's basically a downgraded character. The only reason that I had any kind of care for her was because she was kind of with Tara, but other than that, she wasn't really important. But that's just a side note. So, that also means, scratch the side note thing, there's not going to be extra people kidnapped for the lineup. So anyone who goes to the lineup now is in the group, not apart from each other. Now, who goes to the satellite station? I think that it would be Rick, Daryl, T-Dog, Sasha, Andrea, Lori, Carol, Glenn, Tyrese, Carl, Axel, Maggie, Enid, and Mika. So, a lot of characters that I haven't introduced for a while, and characters that have been relevant in past parts. Because these would be the main people that I feel would pose a good fight against the Saviors here at the satellite station, and there's strength in numbers. Now that they know there's even more Saviors than what they saw at the gates, they need these numbers. But those extra numbers aren't always handy. Because, as I said, not just because of the group, but there's going to be major ramifications coming from this. Whenever Maggie and Carol get cornered by Paula and the Saviors, Axel dies. Why? Because I feel that to protect his wife, he would definitely put up a fight. Now, where is Mika? I feel that she would still be sheltered or brought with someone else because, she's just getting into her teenage years, and I don't think she would have that killer instinct that she did, because Carol would still be trying to work on that with Axel, especially after being in Alexandria for so long. But now that Axel has died, this is where Carol's character finally takes a darker turn, because Mika's still alive here, and that's the only other thing, really, keeping Carol from going completely, psycho. So, this is the moment in the story where Carol's character takes a dark turn. But she's not going to leave Alexandria, because, like I said, Mika is still around. So, even though that's a thing, whenever Carol and Maggie are kidnapped by Paula and the Saviors, they both take equal savage states, or turns, into killing Paula and the Saviors. So it's not just Maggie and it's not just Carol. It's both of them together. Meanwhile, at the sanctuary, stuff's going down there while everything at the satellite post is going on. The Saviors are discussing what to do since their satellite outpost and little Timmy have all been killed. And we get to see Shane become a more good right-hand man than Simon ever was. Negan actually valuing him more than Simon, because Shane has not done anything to outright oppose him or do anything of that nature. If anything, he could be the next Negan if so rose the opportunity. And this definitely gets Simon jealous. Not only did he lose a outright fight to this newcomer, but he lost his biggest stance in the Savior operation. Sure, he's still part of the Saviors in some kind of leader role, but he's not liking the attention that Shane is getting. And with all that said and out of the way, we then get to Maggie and her pregnancy advancing to the point where the group has to take her to Hilltop to get help. Because the whole satellite outpost thing, like I said, besides Maggie and Carol both being in savage state of minds, nothing really would divulge. So, the whole group that I mentioned going to the outpost would be the ones going on the trip to help Maggie. And then they meet Simon in the middle of the road, which I feel would play the same exact way, and get cornered at every pass with bunches and bunches of Saviors. And even though there's a lot of numbers, the Saviors have more. And eventually come face to face with Negan himself. But there is definitely more company, more familiar company, that the group has yet to know. Or already know, but it's too late to stop. What will happen now that Shane is finally going to meet Rick and the group face to face for the third time? And who will die in the coming episodes? Leave a comment, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and want to see more. And that's where we leave things for the moment. Bit out of turn for this one, but I definitely wanted to end it off really spicy, or at least the best that I could, because we all know what's about to happen next. Stay tuned, guys.